The storm raged outside, lashing against the windows of the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel like a relentless beast. Inside, the warm glow of the lobby lights contrasted sharply with the tempest outside, creating an inviting atmosphere that could easily lull anyone into a false sense of safety. Snoop Dogg, a towering figure draped in a stylish black coat, stepped inside, shaking off the rain from his signature braids. He had just arrived in Long Beach after a grueling day filled with delays and missed connections. The weight of exhaustion hung heavily on his shoulders, but he was determined to check in and find solace in a comfortable room where he could unwind. As he approached the reception desk, the ambiance of the hotel, though warm, seemed to shift. An unsettling tension lingered in the air, a subtle undercurrent that Snoop, with his keen instincts, could sense immediately. He glanced around the lobby, where a handful of guests chatted amiably, their laughter tinged with the clinking of glasses from the nearby bar. The hotel was bustling, yet as he neared the reception, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Good evening, sir. How can I help you?" The receptionist, Luca, was a young man with an air of aloofness about him, his eyes barely meeting Snoop's as he spoke. "Yeah, I'd like to check in. I've got a reservation under Snoop Dogg," he replied, his voice calm yet firm, trying to mask the fatigue that threatened to seep through. Luca's fingers danced across the keyboard as he typed, but Snoop could see the frown etching deeper on the receptionist's face. "I'm sorry, but it seems we're fully booked tonight," he said, his tone flat and unyielding. Snoop's brow furrowed in disbelief. "Fully booked? I find that hard to believe. There are people all around. You're telling me there's no room for me?" The disappointment and frustration began to bubble beneath the surface. "Unfortunately, sir, the system shows no availability," Luca replied, his voice cool and devoid of empathy. He gestured toward a casually dressed young man standing nearby, who had just been handed a key to his room without any hesitation from the staff. "As you can see, we prioritize guests based on their reservations." Snoop's heart sank as he watched the young man walk past him, a smug smile on his face, blissfully unaware of the injustice that had just unfolded. "So, what? I'm not important enough for a room," he muttered, barely containing his anger. "I've traveled a long way, and I have every right to be treated just like anyone else." Luca shrugged, his disinterest palpable. "I'm afraid it's just our policy, sir. I suggest you try another hotel." Fists clenched, Snoop took a step back, grappling with a wave of humiliation. The recognition of being treated differently, of being dismissed so callously, ignited a fire within him. He had faced prejudice before, but this was a stark reminder that the battle was far from over. With a deep breath, he managed to keep his composure. "All right, I'll leave," he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But this isn't over." As he turned away from the reception desk, the warmth of the hotel felt suffocating. He stepped outside into the storm, the rain hitting his face like a cold slap. The world blurred around him as he walked, each step heavy with disappointment. Snoop didn't just feel rejected, he felt the weight of a system that perpetuated discrimination. The realization that his status as a celebrity didn't shield him from prejudice gnawed at him. In the shadows of the night, he pondered how he could transform this moment of injustice into something powerful. His mind raced with thoughts of his community, of the countless individuals who faced similar, or even worse, treatment daily. "This isn't just about me," he whispered to himself, determination creeping into his voice. "I can do something about this." As he wandered the streets, his thoughts began to crystallize. Snoop envisioned a hotel, his hotel, where every guest would feel welcomed and valued, regardless of their background. A place where the oppressive weight of discrimination would be lifted, replaced with inclusivity and respect. It was a lofty dream, but one that felt increasingly attainable. He pulled out his phone, the weight of his intention heavy in his hands. The screen lit up, illuminating his face as he scrolled through contacts until he found his attorney, Francesca. With a deep breath, he pressed the call button. The phone rang, and he could hear the soft buzz in his ear, the anticipation building as he waited for her to pick up. "Hello?" Francesca's voice was warm yet professional, a comforting tone in the midst of his turmoil. "Hey, Francesca, it's Snoop. I need to talk to you about something serious," he said, his tone grave. "Of course, what's going on?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. "I just got denied a room at the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel," he began, feeling the anger and frustration surge as he recounted the experience. The receptionist, this guy Luca, treated me like I was invisible. I can't just sit back and let this slide. I want to buy the hotel. There was a brief pause on the other end, and Snoop imagined Francesca raising an eyebrow in surprise. You want to buy a hotel? Snoop, that's quite the ambition. What's your vision? I want to turn it into a place where everyone is treated equally, no matter who they are or where they come from. I want to change the culture, he replied, passion igniting his words. This isn't just about me. It's about all the folks who face this kind of treatment every day. Francesca's voice softened, her support evident. I admire your determination. Let's talk logistics and see how we can make this happen. But remember, it won't be easy. I know, Snoop acknowledged, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. But I'm ready to fight for this. I can't just let things stay the way they are. As they discussed the details, Snoop felt a sense of empowerment wash over him. The storm outside mirrored the tumult within him, but he could see a glimmer of hope on the horizon. He was no longer just a victim of circumstance. He was a catalyst for change, ready to turn this moment of injustice into a movement that could reshape not just a hotel, but an entire community. With each passing moment, he felt his resolve strengthen. The road ahead was uncertain, but Snoop was prepared to navigate it. He hung up the call, looking out at the rain-soaked streets, and for the first time that night, he felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. The Tramonto Imperiale would become a beacon of inclusivity, a place where everyone, regardless of their background, could find solace and respect. Snoop Dogg sat in the dim light of his living room, the glow of his laptop illuminating his face as he stared at the screen, lost in thought. The events of the night before played repeatedly in his mind, the sting of Luca's rejection still fresh. He had never imagined that a simple stay at a hotel could turn into such a blatant display of racial discrimination. As he contemplated the incident, an idea began to take shape within him, a powerful urge to turn this negative experience into a catalyst for change. With a deep breath, he picked up his phone and dialed Francesca, his attorney and longtime friend, hoping that she would share his vision. The phone rang, and after a few rings, her voice came through crisp and alert. "Snoop, it's late. What's going on?" "Francesca, I need to talk to you about something important," he replied, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "You remember the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel?" "Of course. The one you were trying to check into last night?" "What about it?" "I'm thinking about buying it," he said, feeling a rush of adrenaline as the words left his mouth. "I want to transform that place into a haven of inclusivity and respect. What do you think?" There was a moment of silence on the other end, and Snoop could almost hear the gears turning in Francesca's mind. "You want to buy the hotel? That's quite the ambition. But do you really think you can turn it around?" "I have to try," he insisted, tapping his fingers on the table in a rhythmic pattern, a habit he often had when deep in thought. "I can't just let that experience slide. I want to create a space where everyone feels welcome, regardless of their background." "Okay, let's talk logistics. Do you have a price in mind?" Francesca asked, her tone shifting to that of a strategist. Snoop leaned back in his chair, his mind racing with possibilities. "I need you to find out what it would take to make an offer. I want to know about the current ownership, any debts, and what it would cost to renovate." "All right, I'll start looking into it," she replied, her voice now filled with enthusiasm. "But Snoop, this is a big commitment. You'll need funding, a solid plan, and a team that shares your vision." "I'm ready for it," Snoop affirmed, his confidence growing. "If I can bring joy and change through my music, I can do the same with this hotel." As they continued to discuss the details, Snoop felt an invigorating sense of purpose wash over him. He imagined the lobby filled with laughter, the air rich with the aroma of diverse cuisines, and guests of all backgrounds mingling freely. The Tramonto Imperiale could be a place that stood against the discrimination he had faced, a beacon of hope and unity in the heart of Long Beach. By the time they hung up, the first light of dawn was creeping through the windows. Snoop felt a renewed sense of determination. He quickly dressed, his mind racing with ideas for the hotel, envisioning a vibrant atmosphere that celebrated diversity. He could already picture the art on the walls, the performances in the lobby, and the community events that would draw people together. Later that morning, Snoop sat at a large oak table in his home office, reviewing the purchase documents for the hotel. He could hardly believe that he was about to finalize a deal for the very place that had turned him away just hours earlier. As he signed the last document, he felt a surge of empowerment. This was more than just a business transaction. It was a commitment to change. Once the paperwork was complete, Snoop made his way to the hotel. The sun was shining brightly, a stark contrast to the stormy night of his arrival. He stepped through the doors of the Tramonto Imperiale, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. The lobby was bustling with activity, but today, it was different. He was no longer a rejected guest. He was the new owner. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice commanding attention as he approached the front desk. The receptionist, Luca, looked up, his expression shifting from surprise to apprehension. Snoop could sense the tension in the air, a palpable reminder of their last encounter. "Mr. Dogg," Luca stammered, clearly caught off guard. "I didn't expect to see you here again." Snoop crossed his arms, determination etched on his face. "I didn't expect to be turned away last night either, but we're going to change that." He gathered the staff, a mix of curious and anxious expressions filling the room. Snoop took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Listen up, everyone. I'm Snoop Dogg, and as of today, I'm the new owner of this hotel." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the crowd. Luca's eyes widened, and Snoop could see the realization dawning on him. "I'm here because I believe in the potential of this place, but I also believe in the need for change. We've got to create an environment where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are or where they come from." One of the staff members, a young woman with bright pink hair, raised her hand hesitantly. "What does that mean for us?" Snoop smiled, appreciating her courage to speak up. "It means we're going to implement training on diversity and inclusivity. Every single one of you will play a role in making this hotel a safe haven. We're going to celebrate our differences, not hide from them." A wave of murmurs and nods of agreement spread through the room, and Snoop felt a swell of hope. He could see the potential for a new culture within these walls. "I want to hear your ideas, your experiences, and your visions for what we can do to make this place better. Together, we can turn this hotel into something special." As he continued to address the staff, Snoop felt a sense of camaraderie forming. He wanted them to understand that this was not just about him, it was about all of them. His vision extended beyond the walls of the hotel and into the community of Long Beach, where diversity thrived but often faced challenges. "Let's make this a space that represents everyone," he concluded, his voice filled with passion. "I'm counting on all of you to help me make this happen." After the meeting, Snoop pulled Luca aside, the weight of their previous encounter heavy between them. "We need to talk," he said, his tone serious. Luca's eyes darted around, clearly anxious about the confrontation. "I know what happened last night was wrong," Snoop continued, keeping his voice steady. "You treated me unfairly, and that's not how we're going to operate moving forward. I just bought this place to create a new culture, one that values respect." I'm sorry," Luca stuttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to. I was just following orders." "Following orders?" Snoop echoed, frustration creeping into his voice. "That's not an excuse. You have a responsibility to treat everyone with dignity, regardless of their skin color. That's what we're going to change here." Luca nodded, his expression remorseful. "I know I messed up. I just panicked when I saw you, and I didn't know how to handle it. I'm sorry." Snoop took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "This is your chance to do better. I'm giving you a fresh start, but you need to commit to the values we're going to instill here. Can I count on you to help lead that change?" Luca's eyes widened in surprise, and for a moment, Snoop thought he might not respond, but then, with a shaky breath, he nodded. "Yes, you can count on me." As Snoop walked away, he felt a mixture of hope and resolve. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to take the first steps toward creating a hotel that embodied the very values he cherished. It was a new beginning, not just for him, but for everyone connected to the Tramonto Imperiale. Snoop Dogg stepped into the lobby of the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel, the weight of ownership resting on his shoulders, yet a sense of determination surged through him. The air was thick with anticipation. The staff, a mix of curiosity and apprehension etched on their faces, gathered in the main conference room, the very room where he had once faced humiliation. Snoop glanced around, his eyes settling on Luca, the receptionist whose cold dismissal had ignited this journey. Now, Snoop was in charge, and today he was ready to set the tone for a new era. "All right, listen up everyone. I appreciate you all being here," Snoop began, his voice calm yet authoritative, resonating through the space. The murmurs quieted as he took center stage, the sunlight filtering through the tall windows casting a warm glow on his tall frame. "I know you're all curious about what's going down, so let's cut to the chase." Lucas stood at the back, arms crossed, a look of disbelief on his face. Snoop caught his eye and felt a pang of uncertainty. He was about to confront the very man whose actions had driven him to take this monumental step, but he pushed the thought aside. He had a mission to accomplish. "I'm Snoop Dogg, and I'm now the owner of this hotel," he announced, and a ripple of shock swept through the room. The silence was palpable as the staff exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of surprise and skepticism. "I know many of you are wondering how this came to be, and I'll tell you, I'm here to make some serious changes." He paced slowly, allowing his words to sink in. "This hotel needs to reflect the values of respect and inclusivity. That means treating every guest, no matter who they are or where they come from, with the same level of hospitality." Snoop's gaze swept over the employees, locking eyes with each of them, gauging their reactions. "I've been in situations where I wasn't treated fairly, and it doesn't feel good. I'm sure many of you have your own stories, but here, we're going to change that. I want this place to be a sanctuary for everyone. Black, white, Latino, Asian, you name it. Everyone deserves to feel welcomed." "Mr. Dogg," a young woman with bright red hair spoke up hesitantly. "What if some people don't like those changes? What if guests get upset?" Snoop nodded, appreciating her bravery. "That's a possibility, but we can't let fear dictate our actions. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy. We need to cultivate an environment where everyone feels safe and respected. If someone walks in here and feels unwelcome, that's on us. We can't let that happen again." Lucas shifted uncomfortably at the back, his arms tightening around his chest. The tension in the room was evident, and Snoop could sense the unease simmering just below the surface. He decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. "Luca," Snoop called out, his voice steady but firm. "Can you come forward for a moment?" The receptionist's eyes widened, and the room fell silent. He hesitated before stepping forward, his demeanor defensive. "What's this about?" he asked, trying to mask his anxiety. Snoop took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "I want to talk about what happened the other night when I tried to check in. You denied me a room, even when it was clear that the hotel wasn't fully booked." Luca's face flushed, and he opened his mouth to speak, but Snoop raised a hand to pause him. "I'm not here to attack you," Snoop continued. "I want to understand why you made that choice. What led you to turn me away?" Luca fidgeted, his eyes darting to the floor. I was just following the rules, Snoop. I didn't think what?" Snoop pressed, his tone softening. "You didn't think it mattered that I was a guest, just like anyone else?" I was under pressure. The management said to prioritize certain guests. I didn't want to lose my job," Lucas stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. Snoop felt a flicker of empathy pierce through his frustration. "But in doing that, you treated me differently because of who I am. That's not okay, man. Not now, not ever." The silence in the room thickened, and Snoop could see the other staff members shifting uncomfortably. They were witnessing a confrontation that was both personal and profound. "I'm sorry," Luca finally said, his voice trembling. "I didn't mean to. I didn't think it through. I just wanted to keep my position." Snoop nodded, absorbing Luca's confession. "I get it. We all have bills to pay, and we're all trying to make a living. But we can't let that come at the expense of our integrity. You have to stand for something, man." Luca's shoulders slumped, his defensiveness melting away. "I just didn't know why it mattered. I thought it was just business." Snoop stepped closer, his voice low and serious. "It's not just business, it's personal. It's about human dignity. And if we can't treat each other with respect, then we're failing at our jobs." The room was silent, the weight of Snoop's words hanging heavy in the air. He took a step back, giving Luca space to process. "Look, I'm committed to changing the culture of this hotel," Snoop said, his gaze steady. "But I can't have someone here who doesn't share that vision. I'm going to have to let you go, Luca." Gasps erupted from the staff, and Luca looked as if he had been punched in the gut. "No, please, I can change. I promise I'll do better." His voice cracked, desperation creeping in. Snoop shook his head gently. "This isn't just about one mistake. It's about a mindset. I need a team that's all in, willing to embrace inclusivity and respect. I can't take the risk." Luca's eyes glistened with unshed tears, and he opened his mouth to protest, but no words came. Snoop turned to the rest of the staff, gauging their reactions. He could see the mix of fear and relief on their faces. "Let this be a lesson for all of us," Snoop said, his voice ringing with authority. "We have a chance to create a new standard here. We're going to build a hotel where everyone feels welcome, but that starts with us being honest with each other and holding each other accountable." As Luca left the room, a heavy silence lingered. Snoop felt a mix of emotions, regret, sadness, but also a sense of liberation. He knew he was on the right path, even if it was lined with difficult choices. "All right, let's get to work," he said, breaking the tension. "I want ideas. How do we make this place a haven for everyone?" The atmosphere shifted, and the staff began to share their thoughts, the initial shock giving way to enthusiasm. Snoop watched as they engaged with one another, brainstorming ideas that would lead to change. In that moment, he felt a surge of hope, knowing that they were embarking on a journey that would not only redefine the hotel, but also challenge the systemic issues that had plagued their industry for far too long. In the months following Snoop Dogg's acquisition of the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel, a palpable energy enveloped the once stagnant establishment. The lobby, once marked by an uncomfortable tension, now buzzed with excitement and a sense of purpose. Snoop had initiated renovations that extended beyond mere physical changes. He was determined to reshape the very culture of the hotel. Snoop stood in the lobby, surveying the bustling activity. The walls, previously dull and uninspired, were being painted in vibrant hues, reflecting the diversity he aimed to celebrate. A crew of workers installed colorful artwork from local artists, each piece telling a story of resilience and creativity. The scent of fresh paint mingled with the aroma of coffee brewing in the corner where a new cafe was taking shape. This was no longer just a hotel. It was becoming a community hub. "Hey Snoop, come check this out," called out a cheerful voice. It was Maya, the hotel's new manager, who had embraced Snoop's vision with enthusiasm. She waved him over to a large mural being painted on one of the main walls. The mural depicted a vibrant cityscape filled with people of different backgrounds, all smiling and interacting. "What do you think?" Maya beamed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's all about unity and diversity. I thought it would be a perfect representation of what we're building here." Snoop stepped closer, admiring the intricate details. "This is dope, Maya. It really captures the essence of what we're trying to create," he replied, nodding approvingly. "It's got soul, just like the city." "Exactly," Maya responded, her voice filled with passion. "And I think the guests will love it. We want them to feel welcomed and appreciated, just like we discussed in the training sessions." The training programs Snoop had implemented for the staff were comprehensive and inspiring. He had brought in experts to facilitate workshops on diversity, sensitivity, and inclusivity. Each session was designed to challenge preconceived notions and foster understanding among the employees. Snoop believed that transformation began from within, and he was determined to lead by example. As the renovations progressed, Snoop often found himself mingling with the staff, sharing meals, and discussing their experiences. One afternoon, he gathered a group of employees in the newly renovated lounge area, a cozy space filled with comfortable seating and soft lighting. "Listen up, y'all," Snoop began, leaning casually against a wall. "I just wanted to take a moment to say how proud I am of all the hard work you've put in. It ain't just about the hotel looking fresh. It's about the vibe we're creating together." A young bellhop named Jamal raised his hand, a nervous smile on his face. "I really appreciate that, Snoop. The training has changed the way I see things. I used to think it was just about doing my job, but now I get how important it is to connect with our guests." "Exactly, Jamal," Snoop replied, his eyes lighting up. "It's about making those connections. Everyone who walks through those doors deserves to feel like they belong here. We're not just running a hotel, we're building a family." The employees nodded, energized by Snoop's words. They shared their own stories of change, discussing how the training sessions had opened their eyes to the importance of empathy and respect. The atmosphere in the room was electric, a testament to the collective commitment to Snoop's vision. As the weeks turned into months, the changes began to manifest in the hotel's clientele. Guests from all walks of life started to flock to the Tramonto Imperiale, drawn by its newfound reputation for inclusivity. Snoop would often walk through the lobby, greeting guests with a warm smile and a friendly nod. He loved seeing families, couples, and solo travelers come together in the space he had worked so hard to transform. One evening, while he was checking in a group of guests, Snoop overheard a conversation between two women at the reception desk. They were admiring the hotel's decor, chatting about how refreshing it felt to be welcomed so warmly. "I can't believe how beautiful this place is now," one of the women exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder. "And it's so nice to see people from different backgrounds working here. It really feels like they care about everyone." Snoop's heart swelled with pride as he listened to their words. He had envisioned exactly this, the hotel as a beacon of hope and unity. He approached the women, introducing himself with his signature charm. "Hey there, I'm Snoop Dogg, the owner of this fine establishment," he said, flashing a broad smile. "I'm glad to hear you're enjoying your stay." The women gasped in surprise, their faces lighting up with excitement. "No way! We're such huge fans of yours!" one of them squealed, her hands clasped together in disbelief. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're working hard to make sure everyone feels at home here," Snoop replied, his voice warm and inviting. Later that evening, as he sat on a plush sofa in the lounge, sipping a drink and reflecting on the day, Snoop felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had turned a moment of injustice into a movement of change, and the ripple effects were becoming evident. The Tramonto Imperiale was no longer just a hotel. It was a symbol of hope and resilience. A few days later, Snoop was in a meeting with Maya and Francesca, discussing the next steps for their community outreach initiatives. They wanted to give back, to extend the hotel's commitment to inclusivity beyond its walls. "I think we should partner with local organizations that support underrepresented communities," Maya suggested, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We could offer scholarships for hospitality training, or even host events to showcase local talent." Francesca nodded, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "That's a fantastic idea. We can promote diversity not just within the hotel, but also in the industry as a whole. It's time to make a real impact." Snoop leaned back in his chair, contemplating their ideas. "I love it. Let's make this hotel a force for good. We're not just changing the way people see us, we're changing the way they see each other." As the weeks continued to unfold, the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel became a flourishing hub for diversity and inclusivity. Snoop remained dedicated to nurturing the positive atmosphere, frequently popping in and out of the training sessions, providing encouragement and sharing his own experiences. One afternoon, he found himself in a session led by a passionate speaker who had been invited to discuss the importance of allyship. The employees listened intently as the speaker shared personal stories and strategies for fostering empathy and understanding. Snoop watched as the staff engaged in discussions, sharing their own experiences and learning from one another. Imagine if every hotel did this, Snoop thought to himself, feeling a sense of responsibility wash over him. He realized that this wasn't just about his hotel, it was about creating a blueprint for change in the entire hospitality industry. The Tramonto Imperiale was steadily becoming a model of progressive values, and Snoop could feel the energy shift around him. The hotel was not only thriving financially, but was also gaining recognition for its commitment to inclusivity. As he reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point, Snoop felt a mixture of pride and gratitude. The challenges he had faced at the beginning were now the fuel that drove this transformation. He knew there was still work to be done, but he felt confident that the seeds of change he had planted would continue to grow, impacting lives and communities far beyond the walls of the hotel. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue across the lobby. Snoop took a moment to appreciate the bustling atmosphere, a sense of hope filling the air. Little did he know that the journey of transformation was far from over, and new challenges awaited just around the corner. Challenges that would test the very foundation of the change he had fought so hard to establish. The Tramonto Imperiale Hotel had blossomed into a vibrant hub of hospitality, a testament to Snoop Dogg's vision and determination. With its walls freshly painted in welcoming hues and the air filled with laughter and conversation, it now reflected diversity in a way that was palpable. Snoop reveled in the success of his project, often seen walking through the lobby with a broad smile, greeting guests from every corner of the world. Each interaction reminded him of why he had taken on this challenge in the first place. On one particularly sunny afternoon, Snoop stood near the reception area, observing the lively scene around him. Families checked in, friends reunited, and couples enjoyed romantic getaways. A group of young artists from various backgrounds mingled in the lounge, sharing stories and ideas. It was a far cry from the cold atmosphere that had once permeated the hotel, and Snoop felt a swell of pride in his chest. "Yo, this place is dope!" exclaimed a young woman with colorful braids, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She was part of the group of artists, and her enthusiasm was infectious. "I can't believe how much it's changed since the last time I was here. It feels like home." Snoop smiled, leaning casually against the reception desk. "That's exactly what I wanted to create. A space where everyone feels welcome, no matter who they are or where they come from. You know what I mean?" "Absolutely," the woman replied, her friends nodding in agreement. "You've really made a difference here, Snoop. It's inspiring to see someone like you take a stand and change the game." As they chatted, the hotel manager, Maria, approached Snoop with a clipboard in hand. "Snoop, we have a documentary crew arriving in about an hour to film the transformation story of the hotel. They want to capture the heart of what we've built here." Snoop's interest piqued. "That sounds cool, Maria. Let's show them what we're all about. I've got a lot to say about this journey." "Absolutely," Maria replied, her face glowing with excitement. "They're really interested in your vision for inclusivity in the hospitality industry, and how the hotel has become a model for others." With a nod of agreement, Snoop prepared himself for the filming. He felt a rush of energy, ready to articulate his passion for change and the importance of creating spaces that celebrated diversity. As the crew set up their cameras, he took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought him to this point, the discrimination he had faced, the decision to buy the hotel, and the hard work that had gone into transforming it. When the crew was ready, Snoop stepped into the frame, his trademark charisma shining through. "Welcome to the Tramonto Imperiale Hotel," he began, gesturing around him. "What you're seeing here today is more than just a hotel. It's a community, a place where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. I've seen too much division in this world, and I knew I had to do something to change that." The director nodded, encouraging him to continue. "What inspired you to take on this challenge, Snoop?" Snoop paused for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "It all started with a personal experience. I was denied a room at this very hotel just because of the color of my skin. That moment lit a fire in me. I realized that if I wanted to see change, I had to be the change. So, I bought this place, and here we are." As he spoke, the crew captured his sincerity, the passion in his voice resonating with everyone present. He continued, "We've implemented training programs for our staff, focusing on diversity and inclusivity. Every employee here understands the importance of treating every guest like family. That's the standard we set." The crew nodded, impressed. "And what has the response been from the community?" "It's been amazing," Snoop said, a broad smile breaking across his face. "We've attracted a diverse clientele, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. People are coming together here, forming connections, sharing stories. It's a beautiful thing." The crew filmed him interacting with guests, capturing moments of laughter and joy. Snoop moved effortlessly through the lobby, engaging in conversations, sharing jokes, and taking selfies with fans. It was clear that he had become a beloved figure at the hotel, a symbol of hope and change. However, just as the atmosphere was filled with warmth and positivity, a figure from the past suddenly appeared in the background, causing Snoop to freeze momentarily. It was Luca, the former receptionist, whose discriminatory actions had sparked this entire journey. He stood awkwardly, his gaze fixed on Snoop, uncertainty etched across his face. The crew, oblivious to the tension, continued filming, but Snoop's heart raced. He hadn't expected to see Luca here, and he wasn't sure how to process the sight of him now that everything had changed. The memories of their last interaction flooded his mind, and he felt a mix of emotions: anger, confusion, and a flicker of compassion. "Hey, Snoop!" Luca called out, forcing a smile as he approached. I didn't think I'd run into you here. Snoop turned to face him, his expression guarded. What are you doing here, Luca? I'm just a guest, Luca replied, his voice steady but his eyes betraying a hint of nervousness. I wanted to see how things have changed. I've heard so much about the hotel's transformation. Snoop studied him closely, weighing his words. You know this place is different now. We're about inclusivity and respect. I hope you understand that. I do, Luca said, taking a deep breath. I've had time to reflect on my actions. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I was under pressure from the management to prioritize certain guests, and I let that cloud my judgment. I regret it deeply. Snoop felt a pang of empathy, recognizing the vulnerability in Luca's voice. You could have chosen differently. We all have choices to make. I know, Luca replied, his shoulders slumping slightly. But I was scared. I was afraid of losing my job, and I didn't think about the consequences of my actions. I'm trying to do better now. The tension hung thick in the air as they stood face to face, memories of the past colliding with the present. Snoop's heart softened, realizing that the journey toward change was complex and multifaceted. It wasn't just about individual actions. It was about understanding the systemic issues that often forced people into difficult choices. I hope you find your way, Luca, Snoop finally said, his voice steady. But remember, change starts within. You need to confront your own biases if you want to make a real difference. Luca nodded, visibly moved. I will. Thank you for giving me a chance to apologize. It means more than you know. As they exchanged a final look, Snoop felt a sense of closure wash over him. It was a moment of understanding, a reminder that redemption was possible, even for those who had erred. Luca turned to leave, and Snoop returned to the filming, his heart lighter as he continued to engage with guests, embodying the spirit of the hotel he had fought so hard to create. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and joy, Snoop realized that the journey was far from over. It was just beginning, and he was determined to keep pushing for change, not just in the hotel, but in the broader community as well. The Tramonto Imperiale was more than a hotel. It was a movement, and he was proud to lead it. As Snoop Dogg approached Luca, he felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The casual attire of his former receptionist did little to ease the tension in the air. Luca was seated in the lobby, his fingers nervously tapping on the armrest of the chair as he glanced around, clearly uncomfortable in the vibrant atmosphere that Snoop had worked hard to cultivate. Snoop cleared his throat, the sound cutting through the hum of conversation that surrounded them. Luca, he began, his voice steady. I didn't expect to see you here. Luca looked up, his expression a mix of regret and apprehension. Yeah, I thought I'd come and check it out. I've heard a lot about the changes you've made. Changes, huh? Snoop leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. You sure didn't seem to care about change when I first arrived. You turned me away without a second thought. Luca swallowed hard, the weight of Snoop's words pressing down on him. I know, and I'm really sorry about that. You have to understand. I was under a lot of pressure from management. They told me to prioritize certain guests. It was a nightmare. Snoop raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. What do you mean by prioritize certain guests? Luca hesitated, glancing around as if searching for eavesdroppers. They wanted to keep the hotel's reputation intact, you know? A certain image to uphold. I didn't want to lose my job. I was struggling to make ends meet. Snoop's expression softened slightly, the tension in his shoulders easing as he processed Luca's words. Struggling, huh? That's something I can relate to. But that doesn't make what you did right. I know, Luca replied, his voice barely above a whisper. I was scared, Snoop. I didn't want to be the one who got fired. I didn't want to be the one who couldn't pay his bills. It felt like I was caught in a system that didn't care about people like you or me. Snoop stared at Luca, his mind racing. This was not the confrontation he had anticipated. So, you're saying you did it because you felt trapped? Exactly, Luca said, his shoulders dropping as he finally opened up. I didn't want to be that guy. But in that moment, I felt like I had no choice. Snoop took a deep breath, trying to absorb the complexity of the situation. He had come here with the intention of confronting Luca, of making him understand the pain of discrimination. Instead, he found a man who had been caught in a web of fear and economic insecurity. I get it, Snoop said slowly. It's hard to make the right choices when you're scared. Luca looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. You really think so? Yeah, I do, Snoop replied, his tone firm yet compassionate. But you need to understand that your choices have consequences. It's not just about you, it affects everyone around you. I know, Luca said, his voice trembling. I've been thinking about that a lot since it happened. I wish I could take it back. Wishing won't change anything, Snoop stated, his gaze piercing into Luca's. What are you going to do about it? I don't know, Luca admitted, a hint of defeat in his voice. I've been trying to find a way to make amends, to do something better, but I feel lost. Snoop considered Luca's words, feeling the weight of the moment. The hotel had become a symbol of change, of hope, and he realized that it was also a place for redemption. Maybe there's a way you can make it right, he suggested. What if I offered you a chance to work with me? We could create a program on diversity training, help others understand the importance of inclusion. You could share your story. Luca's eyes widened in disbelief. You want to give me a job? Not just any job, Snoop clarified. A chance to help others avoid the mistakes you made. You've got a unique perspective that could help change the culture here. I don't know what to say, Luca stammered, his voice filled with emotion. I never expected this. After everything I did, look, I've forgiven you, Snoop said earnestly. I understand that we all have our battles. If you're willing to share your experience, it could make a real difference. Luca's expression shifted from surprise to gratitude. Thank you, Snoop. I promise I won't let you down. I want to learn and grow from this. Snoop nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. Good. We'll work together to create something meaningful. This hotel isn't just about hospitality. It's about building a community that respects and uplifts each other. As they spoke, the atmosphere around them began to shift. Guests in the lobby laughed and mingled, embodying the very change Snoop was striving for. It was a reminder of why he had taken this journey in the first place, to foster understanding and acceptance. I appreciate this opportunity, Luca said, his voice steadier now. I want to help others see that we're all in this together, no matter where we come from. Exactly, Snoop replied, feeling a bond forming between them. We've got to break the cycle of fear and discrimination. It starts with conversations like this. Luca nodded, a sense of determination in his eyes. I won't let you down, Snoop. I want to be part of this change. Snoop smiled, feeling a surge of hope. Let's do this together. We're going to make this hotel a place where everyone feels welcome and valued. We're not just changing a building, we're changing lives. As they stood together in that bustling lobby, the weight of the past began to lift. Snoop realized that healing could come from unexpected places, from unlikely alliances. Together, they would work to create a legacy of understanding, compassion, and growth, proving that even in the face of prejudice, redemption was possible. Let's get started, Snoop said, clapping Luca on the shoulder. We've got a lot of work to do. And with that, they began their journey, ready to confront the systemic issues that had plagued the hospitality industry and to transform their experiences into a powerful force for change. In that moment, amidst the laughter and chatter of the guests, Snoop felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just two individuals from different worlds. They were allies, committed to making a difference.